we might co-finance pictures with the majors. We might say to them, look, you're good in Japan, you're good in South America, you're good in the US and Canada. Can we co-finance the picture and take some European territories? At the same time, sometimes what do we find a producer has a problem with? He has a script. He doesn't have a US company behind him. So therefore he has a difficulty. How many times distributors tell you, who's your US distributor? And I'm not sure that should continue to be the case, because we're seeing many pictures work so much better overseas and not work in the States. So the rule of the thumb that a picture that is not released in America will not work overseas, I think is changing. Let's look at the Oscars. Look at these pictures, There Will Be Blood, Atonement, all these non-typical studio pictures, which have grabbed most of the nominations and maybe the Oscars. Globalization has made it that the film's tastes are no longer just the typical major company pictures. Certainly there'll be those 10, 15 top box office pictures in every market that only the majors can make. But there's so many other pictures in the 550, which is really the average per market that releases films in the screens, that people do want to see. Would we have ever believed that this German picture, The Life of Others, shot in German, subtitled in every country, would have performed the way it does? And there are many other examples in the past, and I hope in the future. So yes, a one-stop shopping, an alternative with a group that has such a prestigious investor as Goldman Sachs, a big equity fund, such a prestigious investors around the table that we have, a Canadian fund, myself and my group, and management of the high class, as I've mentioned earlier. We feel we can be an alternative way and not necessarily a competitor. And as I said earlier, a producer might come to us and has a script, and he doesn't know how to get the talent, because the talent might tell him, CAA, William Morris, others might say, well, who's your distributor in the US? And he might not have a distributor in the US, because that picture maybe for that market is not necessarily a typical. They will have to wait till the picture is ready for maybe a distributor to look at it and see whether it's worth spending all that money on marketing. But he might have a partner in Europe that says to him, look, we'll take all of Western Europe and we will help you finance the picture. And if you take that cast, we will help you get that cast and reassure the agents that we will release the picture day and date in Europe, that we will go theatrical, that the points that the actors will want in the contract will get paid by us, since we are responsible for overages, because we want to be an operation that doesn't disappear after a couple of years. We want to be a company that will go public with a strategy that we have, that within 5 years, this European group will be a multi-billion-dollar group that goes public, that over 5 years might have released 100 pictures and has created a new platform of distribution with output deals with pay TV, output deals with free TV in different countries that we are now negotiating. Of course, at the end of the game, we know, as I said earlier, content is king, and therefore it will be the quality of the films we can get our hands on. It will be the quality of the films the producers will come to us. It will be the confidence that directors will give us if we have access to those. And it will be a competitive market. Good. You know, I know people think competition is great, no competition is better. No, I'm for competition. I started in Tunisia with no money, no experience, and certainly not a very Western name to enter the film world. And I found that if you speak the universal language of films, people open doors. And if you have access to talent and good will and dedication, even without capital, capital is essential. And now, of course, being in business with all these big groups I mentioned earlier, I'm quite optimistic. And the evolution of internet, and the evolution of globalization, and the need of films, and tomorrow YouTube, MySpace, and others who might very well be distributor of our content. We just have to protect ourselves, and that's why all these strikes in America certainly are very sensitive to what would be the future of royalties of talent, and we should all be preoccupied as producers, distributors of what the future should be. But anyway, certainly we're not going to solve this in this conference, but I just wanted to expose to you that the logic also of a young man that started in the 70s from a third world country, because that's what Tunisia was, and evolved into the European film world, into English films, and having learned the business, realized that there is a market out there, And I'm very happy to have discussions with Goldman and to have this opportunity with them to try and put together this European alliance. And of course, we welcome colleagues and friends and people we don't know to join us in offering films, and maybe together we can get those 20 or 25 pictures that need to make a very successful company. If you look, in fact, at each individual market, you will find that the top distributor, independent, doesn't really release that many pictures. You know, you take Medusa, number one, in Italy, they have 25 to 30 pictures. You take TFM in France, 25 to 30 pictures. And you take Nigel Green in England, I think it's 25 to 30 pictures. Those are number one distributors, and they've applied the formula in their market in a very successful way by choosing well, by buying well, by marketing well, and by paying the overages, by creating confidence that people trust their accounting, that people know they're going to get paid, that people know they will get accounting in time in a world where it is very difficult to raise money and to finance pictures. So I thank you for your attention. I apologize I couldn't be there with you. And of course, I can't answer questions, but it'll be for another time, another occasion, and another opportunity. Thank you very much. Good morning. My name is Tarak Ammar. First of all, I want to thank the conference for having invited me to speak. Unfortunately, I am not with you in Berlin, as I was looking forward when I accepted this invitation. Unfortunately, I had surgery a couple of weeks ago, and I'm recovering and cannot travel to be with you this morning. I would like to briefly introduce myself for those who haven't heard about my career and my last 35 years in this business, and briefly, in order to give you a vision of where I'm going with my company, Quinta Communications, and where my investments, and why we have decided to launch a European distribution network with my financial partners, Goldman Sachs, who also I've invested with alongside them and other investors in the Weinstein Company a couple of years ago. I started my career as a servicing company in Tunisia, which is my native country. There I learned films by attracting big filmmakers, from Zeffirelli to George Lucas and Star Wars and Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then starting co-producing films that were coming to Tunisia to help producers save money, make films inexpensively, and find alternate ways of financing. And I would co-finance these pictures by pre-buying France and Italy, which were the two territories where I was performing over the last 20 years. In the 80s, I went into television with Silvio Berlusconi, with whom I've been a partner for 25 years. And I learned there the pre-sale of film, television, pay and free. And over the last 20 years, I've evolved from a film producer to a communications company by becoming also a financier and assisting big companies like Rupert Murdoch's News Corp, where I had Prince Al Walid invest in his company as one of the major shareholders. Also, I assisted Silvio Berlusconi in taking Mediaset public and bringing investors successfully. And myself, over the last couple of years, became an operator of television in Italy when I assisted Rupert Murdoch into buying Canal Plus's Telepiù, which now has become Sky Italia, in the merge that he did with his pay television, then Stream. In 2003, I acquired two national frequencies from Rupert Murdoch and launched a very successful free-to-air sports channel, and now a pay TV channel with Mediaset, Universal Pictures, and Warner Brothers, in launching 4 new pay TV channels in Italy, which have started on the 18th. This evolution from servicing to producing to pre-sale to financing has given me the idea over the last couple of years as a film producer who has found difficulty, like all colleagues, on how to finance pictures. We've seen soft money, tax shelters, of course the usual co-productions, the usual pre-sales, but globalization of media, explosion of television networks, and now of course internet, has brought us to think on how to find alternative ways of financing. Parallel to being a studio operator in Tunisia, where I still have my studios. I have also invested in the post-production industry by today being the leader in France, having bought all the labs that were in difficulty and going into partnership with Technicolor, who are my shareholders. And we now, of course, have all of the post-production, 3D, sound, and lab and printing, which has enabled us to also reduce costs. The name of the game is how to make movies, how to finance them, how to reduce costs in studios, how to reduce costs in post-production, and make money, which of course is the business that we're in order to make more movies. In the last 4 years, I've looked at the opportunity with Goldman Sachs to invest alongside them and other big investors to help Harvey and Bob Weinstein create the Weinstein Company. And we hope that will be a success. We are in our 3rd year and it's doing quite well. We've had difficulties in the beginning, as always when you have a startup, but we can say now we have a real company and that it is distributing pictures in the US and selling worldwide. After that investment, Goldman Sachs had the brilliant idea, and Jerry Cardinale, who represents Goldman Media Equity Fund, to acquire Alliance Atlantis, the Canadian company which you're all familiar, which holds Momentum in England and Arum in Spain. They've approached me and said to me, could you be the strategic partner? Could you bring to us France, Italy, and then together we would look at Germany and Scandinavia, which is exactly what we're doing. I therefore decided to acquire, as you've seen in the press, Eagle Pictures, which was the first independent distributor, excluding Rai 01 and Medusa, which is tied to Mediaset, and excluding the majors, it is the #1 distributor. It was having cash problems. The bank wanted a new investor. It's exactly what I did, and I'm very happy to have acquired Eagle, which has a good brand, a good catalog, and Eagle will be part of the Alliance Europe. Together we are looking to create in France, and I'm in discussion confidentially with 2 important distributors to have a very important player in France join us. And as you've read in the press, Scanbox is the Scandinavian distributor that we're looking to merge with us in this European alliance. Germany is a market we're looking at, and this conclusion came really from the following analysis. There are 550 films which are distributed in the key European territories. I'm ignoring the US and Canada for the time being. And if you look at the 550 films that are distributed, let's say 250 to 300 are films financed or come from major companies. The other 250 are independent movies, either local films, whether French, Italian, German, or English or Spanish, and what I would call the independent world, English-speaking pictures emanating from independent companies, whether New Line, whether Summit, or others, many players, and a lot of English pictures and a lot of English producers. So we're assuming there's 250 movies a year that are not distributed by major companies. Our reflection was the following with Alliance and Goldman Sachs. If, hypothetically, we could distribute 20 pictures a year, let's say our European structure would be a one-stop shopping for an independent producer who is used to pre-sales and can continue to pre-sell, and here he would come and offer us 5 territories. If you add Canada, that's 6 territories, and we would pre-buy or co-finance or co-produce that movie to distribute in all those territories. As globalization and day and date and piracy is coming, we would therefore distribute and market this picture simultaneously, as do the majors. The strength of the major companies is they have offices, and in each country they apply their marketing strategy together to go day and date, either with the US or certainly with the European release. Our desire is to be an independent European distributor that offers the same quality as the majors, not the same manner in terms of maybe decision making. And therefore, we felt that there are 20 pictures that we can buy, because if there are 250 pictures a year, there's room for others. And if we, with Momentum, Arum, Eagle, my French distribution partner that I'm negotiating with, and Scanbox, and eventually Canada, of course, that is part of our team, we can offer producers out of those 250, and we're talking 20, 25 pictures, offer them day and date marketing strategy and also a concept that the majors have applied, cross-collateralization.